Salaam, nerds. It's your boy Neebs, aka Watch with Neebs, and I'm here with my co-host Jazz, aka President Jazz.
President Jazz. One day, inshallah.
Yeah. Well, anybody makes a better president than the president on the show.
My God, this guy was so bad.
The worst
I'm
president
convinced they
ever.
were taking shots at Trump with it. Like, there's no other way.
Yeah. Oh man, this is definitely one of the top worst presidents ever. If this was 24, I would let Jack Bauer be like, "Yo, Jack, just let him go. Just let him go." Like they were better off shooting him.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But let's
All right.
introduce our guest real quick.
Yeah, let's introduce our guest. We got some different guests. Let's introduce the one standing right next to you, man. What's up, Hamza? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I'm really excited to be part of this, and I think it's really cool. I've been watching your guys' podcast for a while, ever since Jazz started it, and I'm really excited to be a part of it finally.
Sounds good, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 32 years old. I'm a production manager at a company that invented the DoorDash software. So it's
Cool.
really exciting stuff. And in about 43 days, I get married to like one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. So there's that.
Very cool. Congratulations. That's awesome. Good for you, bro. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And then Saber, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, this is and I appreciate Sir Jazz of Houston for calling me on the show. It's from like a fanboy moment to being on the show now. It's a pleasure now. About me, yeah, I'm 24 and I work as an analyst for a bank, but then I am a huge fan of the comic books and Marvel in general, so I keep up with everything. So I used to watch your show, and then now I'm on the show.
Yeah, funny
Yeah.
story about that. We actually met Saber at the Mass ICNA convention in Chicago in December, and he just comes up to us like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your show," and I'm like, "What? We have fans?" And so I was like, "All right, we got to bring you on the show one day."
I was very surprised when Saber came up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I love your stuff," and I'm just like, "What stuff?" Like I don't know. I was pretty surprised. That was a really cool moment. But yeah, Topi right here says Saber was actually mentioned in this episode technically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
different kind of Saber though. So we'll get into that. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So let's start off with this episode. But before we do, this is the finale. So let's go around and find out what are people's thoughts of the show overall. Because the show is done now. We see it as a whole. What are our people's thoughts? Let's start off with Saber.
Well, to begin with, 6 episodes did not do justice to the entire Secret Invasion comic book series. And well, watching the show, I think the last episode was kind of all of my all of my concept arts that I used to watch for Secret Invasion coming to life. So yeah, loved the finale, and yeah, I feel like the first few episodes, I felt like, okay, like when am I gonna see a Marvel character? But then without getting the A-class Avengers, they still did an amazing job.
Okay, very cool. Hamza, how about you? What are your thoughts about this episode or the season in general?
Yeah. So the season in general, personally, I don't know how I feel about the show overall. I can say I don't know if I could say it's a good show, but I can say I did enjoy a lot of things in it, though. There was a couple of inconsistencies and a couple of things with the writing as well. But what I can say about this finale, number one, I really like the title of it, just called Home, because it kind of hits on like that's all of Fury's mission is to find him a home, and that's where he failed at, was finding him a home. So I really did enjoy the title of it. To piggyback off what Saber said about not having the A-listers, Marvel A-listers in there, I think that was one of the hangups that I had on there, that I was hoping for a little bit more Avenger level of Secret Invasion. But you know, I think they did okay without them. But also knowing that this movie, I mean, this TV show is going into the Marvels movie, I would have hoped for maybe like a Monica Rambeau like appearance or Brie Larson or any of the Marvels really. But just something a little bit more. But overall, I can say about this episode that I did enjoy a lot of it, and there'll be plenty of comments to get into about it later on. But I am excited for what's to come after as well.
All right, Jazz. And finally, what about you?
You want to go first, Neebs? I feel like I'm going to be the most critical. So you got to go from like the person who loved it the most to the person who hated it the most.
I don't know if you are the person that hated him because I like okay, look, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I am not a hater. In fact, I am so much that I am not a hater. Someone says like this show is great. I don't see the hate. Look, I'm not hating on the show. I am not, all right? In fact, too many people have called me out for liking too many things. Like I love the Eternals and everybody gets shits on the Eternals. And I love She-Hulk and everybody shits on She-Hulk. But I got to say this is my least favorite show. But that's not to say it doesn't have good things about it. There's a lot of good things in this show. It's just my least favorite. I think is even worse than What If, which What If was like really down there for me.
That's your hot take.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things I love about this show. I think is really good. There's a lot of things I think this show just didn't deliver, and maybe it's bad marketing. I don't know, because they did say that this is going to be a grounded show and it's going to be the Andor of Marvel. And to their point, damn, there's a lot of comments right now from like I love this show to the show with a dumpster fire that ranges so far. All right. Listen, this show had amazing acting. Like the cast brought it. The cast just amazingly. They did such a good work. Cinematography was great. The lines were great. The dialogue was great. It seems like they gave somebody with talent a lot to work with, and then no story. They gave them no story. It feels like a director had like both hands tied behind their back and they just did their best. There wasn't really anything going on that really captivated me in this overall story, but there's individual things that were so great. There's definitely what is it? Neve doesn't like Nick Fury's eye patch. I don't have a problem with eye patches, all right? That's not my problem. But I don't know, man. There's a lot of things that I just didn't like. I would have loved to see more Maria Hill. Freaking fridged her right in the beginning. Talos died. So many endings just ended with like deaths, whether they were real or fake, and it just didn't really connect with me. There weren't a lot of like twists where you're like, oh, it's a scroll show, so someone's gonna be somebody else, and someone's gonna, you're never gonna guess who is who. We never had any of those moments where you're like, oh, I didn't suspect this person was a scroll, except for maybe one in this episode, which we'll get to. Listen, I'm not saying it's a bad show. I'm just saying out of, it's like pizza, there's no bad pizza, right? Pizza's still pizza, but this is like the bagel bites of pizza. In my opinion, I'm so sorry. Jazz.
Can I add something? Then, sure. Based on what you said about this not being, or this being like probably the worst Marvel TV show, is it under Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yeah, I think so, man. Because like Falcon and Winter Soldier was at least a little fun. I don't like Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's not one of my high ones up there. But Kate Bishop and Yelena, like I loved that duo. I thought that was really, really great. I think Kate Bishop brought a lot of stuff. Hawkeye with all the fun arrows. Then we had Echo, a little bit with the Kingpin. There was something for everybody. It's not my favorite, but at least it gave me something. This didn't give me much except for the big fight at the end, which is something that like She-Hulk really called out. She-Hulk is like all these Marvel shows finales are just a bunch of cameos and big CGI fights at the end. And what was this? A cameo here and there, a bunch, yeah, like it literally was just like these CGI cameos of powers and like and some CGI effects. So like I said, man, I hate to be the one.
But no, you're not the only one. Let me give you my overall thing.
Right,
started off like the first 2 episodes, I thought they were amazing. Like I thought they were like, okay, there's potential here. I can see a
So much
story building here. I'm excited. Maria Hill dying early, not see that coming. And I was like, all right, it's getting gritty. I like it. Cool.
Mhm.
There was a lot of blood, a lot of action. Like they weren't messing around. And I was like, okay, this is refreshing. I can deal with this. And then episodes 3 and 4 happen, and I'm like, what's going on? There's not much left, not much time left to wrap the story up. This is going to crash and burn. Episode 5, I absolutely was like, okay, all right, I am resigned now. I don't like this. And this episode was just a cherry on top of me not liking the show.
There are some artistic takes that they went with that I'm going to go into and dive in, which I'm not sure. Like, as a Muslim, as an immigrant, there are some parallels here about what the president did. But, that's why I'm glad we have different thoughts on this opinion, because if it was just two people trashing the episode, it wouldn't be a great show. So I'm glad that we have difference in opinion. So I'm really excited.
A diverse group here, just with thoughts, because last week I was just shitting on it for 20 minutes. It was funny, but then there's also a worst performing show. So I'm like, yeah, no, let's fix that.
Diversify your bonds. Let's go. All right. So this episode, we leave off with Nick Fury putting on his suit. Why did he have to go through like 7 different drawers in a cemetery to get his costume? I don't know. He could have just put it all in one drawer, but he had it in 7. So he gets his eye patch, he gets all his suit, and then he's off to where he's gonna go to. Then we see his wife in the not so safe house, kind of like collecting stuff. And we also see Rhodey just being a dick, just a giant dick to everybody.
Let's go back a step. That scene where Fury called Mara, I actually really liked that scene. I thought that was probably one of the highlights of the show. Like you could really tell the characters there were connecting, and it was a good scene for me. I actually was like, all right, great. They're starting this episode off strong.
Yo, I love every scene with Vara and Nick. Like I said, the acting is not the problem here. They got great acting. People put on a performance on this show. Like that is not one of the problems here at all. I just feel like they just couldn't do as much with the show. Let's see. So what happens then? We see Nick walking towards the radioactive sanctuary that they're at, and he's like, coughing, and it looks like he's getting sick, putting on a show even when no one's watching. We see that. And then, Fury, he meets Gavik. What did you think about their meeting when they first met?
It's Gravik. Let's go with Saber first.
Well, for the first time they met, I was like, okay, this is. I kind of had a hint that it was not Nick Fury, because
Really?
when Nick, yeah, because like when he fell for that scroll soldier that was on the ground, I kind of got this vibe that it might be Gaia, and she might be looking at him and, oh no, like this is the person I brought into the compound and he's dead. So that feeling was that is when I got a hint that, I don't think this is Nick. And when he gives off that wile, I didn't think the wile was going to be real. And eventually, when it turned out to be real, that was kind of a mind-blowing moment. I was like, wait, did Nick Fury really trust the entire DNAs of all these Avengers and everybody to Gaia, and without any like backup or anything? Like that was more of a, okay, I don't believe that this is happening.
Okay, all right, you're smarter than me, because I wasn't expecting it. What about you, Hamza?
Yeah, I also did expect it. I think it was a theory of mine, and also kind of when she said that in the previous episode when she's gonna put on a brave face, I was just like, all right, like I kind of felt that she was gonna do something like that. I think the scenes between Fury and Gravik, especially at that New Scrollos, I guess is their what their compound is called.
Yeah.
The actor for Gravik, I think he's amazing. I think
So
the
good.
lines that
Kingsley.
it's so good. And I think he gets so much intensity, especially like when he grabs Fury's face and like tries to explain to him why. And also, this is why I kind of thought it was Gaia, was when she's like, "Oh, you don't." When he was like, "You don't remember that this is the face that you had me kill first?" And it's like, well, it's Gaia. How could you remember? You know, like Fury would have remembered, and it's not like the other scrolls where they can, I guess, transport memories into their mind, but Fury definitely wouldn't let Gaia do that because I guess his secrets are more like his children. There's some secrets that nobody can know, and I think their relationship between Fury and Gravik was really good because a part of me when I first started watching it, I was thinking like I felt like maybe there would be some twist where Gravik is his son or something.
That was my theory, yeah.
Yeah, but like he was like a surrogate
thought
father
so
in a way, So and but I do feel for Gravik in a certain light because I get it. Somebody made you a promise, and over X amount of years, that promise wasn't fulfilled, and eventually, you become bitter and you become in a phase. You go to a phase where you're just lashing out, whether you think you're right or wrong. You're just lashing out to really get back at that person, but you take it out on a couple of thousand other people.
All right, no big deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
and,
Kingsley
yeah.
Benadir did such a great job in this. And when he grabs Nick and he goes like, you made me, I was like, damn. And then he goes like, you pimped us. I was like, damn, he is really reading it into him, right? And like I just saw him like literally a week ago in the Barbie movie, completely different character, completely different.
Yeah, we got
When he
Brown Boy
played-
one in the comments. He's saying he was great in the Barbie. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He could be a Ken or he can be a Skrull. It doesn't matter. It's so good. It's so
Wait,
good.
he's playing the role of Ken in Barbie? I haven't watched the movie yet.
Yeah, he plays Ken in the Barbie movie. He's one of the Kens.
Damn.
I mean,
Yeah,
canon to Marvel now.
Barbie is now canon in Marvel. Correct.
Multi-
probably.
Well,
yeah.
actually, real quick, we're getting 18 minutes in. Let's take our first commercial break here.
Sure. Let's take a commercial break and then we'll come right back to it. Commercial breaks in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're back. For those of you that are watching us live, yeah, there was no real commercial, but there will be a commercial on Spotify. Anyways, let's get back to it. So, Nick reveals that he really came back for Gavik, which turns out not to be Nick. So, I don't know. Maybe he did come back for Gavik. Maybe he didn't. We don't know anymore. We don't know anything because we don't know who's who. But one thing I want to mention while this is happening, Rhodes is over there talking with an admiral and kind of just like being a complete dick to the admiral right in front of the president. Like, first of all, isn't there a chain of command in the army? Like, aren't you supposed to not talk that way to your like ranking officer? Like, Rhodey needs to chill. What are your thoughts on that?
Wait, is Rhodey the Secretary of State?
He's
And
Colonel. Isn't he Colonel Rhodes?
He's Colonel, yeah.
Yeah.
What's his role in the cabinet, though?
I don't know what his role in the cabinet, but the person he was talking to was an admiral. So
Yeah.
I would think an admiral would outrank a colonel.
But does an
Anyway.
admiral outrank an Avenger?
Yes. Legally, yes.
No,
Absolutely.
not since the Sokovia Accords have been disavowed. The Sokovia Accords are no longer in play, so they're kind of just privatized at the moment. The Avengers.
So
They don't
anything
work for
goes.
the
I guess.
government. Yeah. So back to Civil War, where he's like, the safest
No, but-
hands are our own.
Colonel Rhodes is still a colonel in the army, right? So
Yeah.
if he's talking to a general, then technically she outranks him.
She outranks him.
Yeah.
He called her stupid or something. He called her something really mean. I was like, damn, you can't do that in front of like the president.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
You know,
I don't know.
he's really rude.
I know this Grody was a dick. First of all, he's like talking about carpet bombing people, making references to wrestling moves that don't even make sense because the Undertaker doesn't do any flying DDTs like off the top rope. I don't understand this guy or a girl. It's actually a girl.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yes, now while this is happening, we're back and we're seeing the fight. And then Nick gives Gravik the harvest, which we don't see coming. He gives him the harvest, and he goes, "Here is Carol Danvers' DNA, along with everybody's DNA." And when they put it in the computer, they kind of tell us who all the people are. So I have it written somewhere. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So who are all the people?
Corvus Glaive, Thanos, Outrider, Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, the Chitauri, and then you have the actual people from the Avengers. Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Valkyrie, Korg, the Winter Soldier, Captain Marvel, and then he has Guardians members: Gamora, Drax, Mantis. Who am I forgetting?
Ghost.
Ghost. Yeah.
Ghost.
So one of the things, you know what? I'll wait for that later. But I think it's really interesting how like they pick which people DNA to use and which ones to not. I thought it was really cool. So we'll talk about that in the Easter eggs, because I have a list of Easter eggs about why they picked all of these characters and not others, and even though why some of these were in here. So we'll get that in the Easter eggs. So that was really, really cool. But it's cool. And then we see this classified file that's was going around, and then we get to see Sonya. Sonya, literally steals every scene that she's in. We love her. If there's anybody I want to see in like another movie, it's definitely her.
Agreed, man.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, she did. She definitely put show.
And I think this was she's more of a Brit, like the Britain version of Nick Fury for me now.
Yeah.
I
She was more Nick Fury than Nick Fury was Nick Fury in a show about Nick Fury.
Yeah, I would say that she's more of the British version of Val, but definitely more of a badass. Like, I don't know.
You can curse.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I had no idea.
You gotta look.
I forgot to mention that. Yes, we can curse on here.
But yeah, I feel like she's the opposite in terms of personality with Val, but the same amount of power, the same amount of tenacity. But she's definitely more likable than Val is.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's go into the comments, because we got some really funny comments right now. Someone says there was a Denzel moment right there.
Yeah, that was when
pretty funny. Amazing acting. Someone named a pimp named Fury, which is a reference to a pimp named Slickback from the Boondocks. Nice reference. Will we do a Barbie episode? Yes, we will be doing Barbie as soon as Jazz watches it. I love Barbie. I'm obsessed, especially the Ken song. I'm just Ken. It's my jam right now. So we will be doing probably this weekend. We got some people saying, yeah, he was really rude. I want to know how he was kidnapped. Who was kidnapped? Oh, how Rhodey was kidnapped. That is a good one.
A whole segment on this, actually.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Let's see. Drax was there. Let's see. When Nick turned into a scroll, they called him Nick Kroll. What? Oh, I get it. That's funny.
That's funny.
Someone said I was pissed they didn't use Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck was at the Battle of Earth. Yeah, so he was actually there. Someone did point him out in the crowd. So that would have been fun. All right, cool. Some great comments. All right, so they turn on the machine, and Gravik gets the Super Scroll powers. And then as he goes to punch which one? Nick Fury stops it, right? Yep. So for a second there, I was like, yo, this show gave Nick Fury powers. It jumped the shark. What is this Looney Tunes shit? And then it turns out to be Gaia. Now, Faber predicted it. I think Hamza predicted Jazz. What were your thoughts? Because I didn't predict it. I was pretty surprised. I wasn't super surprised, but I was a little surprised.
So I had a feeling it wasn't Nick, because I'm at the point where I hate the show, where I'm going to start noticing all the little things that will piss me off. And so one of those things was Fury was on the ground, with his pills, because the radiation poisoning was killing him and he couldn't last longer without him. And then when Gravik was off on a soliloquy almost, he wasn't coughing at all, and I'm like, he's not coughing. This show sucks. And that's obviously not what it was, right? But at that moment, I kind of had a feeling like, watch, this is not gonna be Nick Fury. And sure enough, it turned out not to be Nick Fury. The fact that it was Gaia was actually made me smile. I was like, all right, this is neat. Okay, I'll keep watching for a bit more.
Yeah, I thought it was good, and like Gravik doesn't have any issues with the radioactivity, so like he can be there and not have to cough or anything. So he's good to go.
All the skulls can be there.
So
that's fine.
There's no problem with him.
Right. It was just when Clark Gaia stopped coughing in the middle. That's when I had my first inkling. So Saber and Hunter, they got it before I did, which is, like, y'all are smarter than me now.
Shout out to Saber.
Saber's smart on this all.
Smart cookie, man. All right, Saber, you're so smart. Tell us, why are the people downstairs? How come they're not sick? Are they exposed to radioactive poisoning?
Well, I think the compound in general had these barriers that they, again, this is, I guess, a radioactive bunker, right? I think there was in Russia and stuff, so I think maybe they were under when they were getting out, that was the weird part. I was like, wait, why are you guys getting out? And they were looking at the guy, and I think, okay, wait, there's radiation over there. So lots of inconsistencies, like Hamza pointed out. And again, when Gaia and Gravik were fighting out, I was thinking, what about their DNAs? Like, those are exposed. Like, what happened to the vial, right?
Oh, you're so right. When they brought the vial in, the DNA would have corroded. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. You are so right.
And the entire thing about the show was, wait, there is this thing called the harvest. That is itself the most craziest secret that I've seen right now. And do we just leave it just like that?
Dude, you're right.
I didn't think about that.
I didn't either.
Damn. Daniel, that's crazy. All right. So what did you guys think of the huge CGI fight of Gravik versus Gaia? Because they went all out. They used all the powers. They used, like, I don't know, like from Captain Marvel all the way down to like Hulk, every Ebony Maw, like everybody they use. What were your thoughts about the fight?
Who wants to go first?
I guess
I can go first.
Hamza, you can. Faber, why don't you go first?
I have like a small comment. So when I was looking at the budget for the show, I was like, okay, $200 million. Okay, let's see what. Like, I felt like majority of the budget was spent on the last episode.
$200 million. That's like two Oppenheimers.
Exactly. I don't know if it's two.
I mean, not quite, but
maybe one Barbie.
Yeah, maybe two Barbies. Yeah, that's my hot take on it.
All right, but
that's how we measure budgets from now on. In Barbie and Oppenheimers.
I was saying I felt like the fight was very, like, it was mirroring the ending fight in Free Guys with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah,
just using all the powers, except that one had an Avenger and Chris Evans being there.
At least that had an Avenger.
But I did like the fact that when Nick stopped the punch and went in with the Hulk arm, that it didn't immediately change to Gaia. I like that it changed to Gaia when she walked outside, opposed to it being right there. I did like that little suspense of like, shit, dude, did they just give Fury powers? And then like they're like, thank God, it's Gaia. It's not that.
I do feel like if you watch that at a Comic-Con and you with a bunch of fans, like, people would have been cheering at that scene. That would have been like the Hulk moment or a bring me Thanos kind of moment. So I did like that. I thought that was pretty good. The fight seemed a little super fast. A lot of stuff was happening. I couldn't process all the powers, but as Toyin is saying in the comments, she wished it was a bit longer. I agree. I feel like it happened a little quick, and I feel like the ending where she kills Gravik happened really suddenly, a little anticlimactic. What are your thoughts about that?
I was taking this one. I actually thought this was good. The CGI was fantastic. It was
Sure.
quick, which is not something you want in a show, right? Because you want to milk as much time as you can to make the show better.
Right.
But in real life, if I was in a fight like that, right? Rule number one is end the fight quickly. You don't want to take more damage than you need to. And in this case, she did the right thing and ended it quickly. If you're gonna punch hard, and punch fast. So I actually hate it.
I don't know about that. I feel like yeah, in a real fight you want to end it quickly, but like in a choreographed fight, you want it to be as visually pleasing and exciting as possible. Which I don't think a fury of CGI effects were as visually pleasing as, say, the Winter Soldier versus Captain America knife fight, right? Like that's a beautifully choreographed fight, and it's so amazing to watch, and I can watch it all day long. Whereas this fight, and even
All
with
right.
CGI, there's Thor versus the Hulk. That's a great CGI fight too, right? And I like those kind of fights. This I feel like just there was a lot of stuff happening really fast. Couldn't really process, and then before we know it, it was over. Saber, what are your thoughts?
Well, hang on. One quick thing about that.
Sure.
Would you want a longer fight with worse CGI?
With worse CGI?
Yeah, because that's a trade-off here.
Yo, 219. You can give me 5 more minutes of CGI, bro. Come on, $200 million. Like, where did it go? There's no big stars here. Where else did it go?
I'm just saying.
So you know where the money really went? It went into reshoots because they had to do a bunch of reshoots for this.
I believe it. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably
Saber, what
what
were
it
you
is.
gonna say?
Yeah, this was shot during COVID in London, so pretty sure, at that time they had like a bunch of reshoots, and I heard that a lot of post-production was also done because I guess, what's happening right now in the world. I think there were a lot of references to the ongoing war that's happening right now, and I did find it a bit interesting that they did slip it up in this episode where like, oh, we have the Russian tanks in near the Ukrainian border and stuff. So I heard that they had to remove those. So eventually, when
Yeah.
you're gonna get the deleted scenes, you're gonna look at those and you're gonna be like, oh wow, like this is
Yeah, I
2021.
heard that too. I heard they removed that line because it was too close to real life, and I was like, oh damn. Same thing happened with I believe Captain America and the Winter Soldier, where they make a reference to like a plague, and that's going to be like the main thing that the Flag Smashers do, and they had to rechange the whole plague storyline because of COVID. That was crazy too.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That
so
is wild.
coming to the fight scene in general, I felt like again with Gaia, I could see that she would know how to use these powers because Nick Fury must have, given her a brief on, oh, Mantis, she works like this. But then with Gravik, I was like, he was using Ebony Maw, he was so what I was questioning onto, like now this is too much to thinking too much into it. Is like, how do these people know how to use these powers? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they really knew how to use the power. They were probably just doing like whatever showed up, and they started using it. It could have been that. It could have been just like it's intuitive. Like, I've never had powers, but like, maybe it's intuitive to, learn how to phase through a car.
Well, the way I saw it was Gaia basically got to the binary version of Captain Marvel, and for her, it took her an entire movie just to learn her powers. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, wait, so Gaia can learn stuff faster than Captain Marvel, and at this point, she's the most overpowered person in this. Like, I feel like she's like a Nexus being at this point.
Yeah, so it does kind of feel weird that like we just met Gaia and she's already the most powerful, superhero, metahuman, whatever in the entire MCU. Like it is a little weird, and it kind of feels like doesn't I don't know, because like look, for example, Scarlet Witch is someone who people know as one of the most strongest beings in the Marvel universe, but we went through hell and back with her, right? Sokovia, Civil War, like we went through ups and downs. We got to know this character. We got to see this character lose everything, right? And when she becomes like this Nexus being that's super powerful, you buy it. You're like, okay, cool. This person is the strongest person in the entire MCU. Like, we get it. We see the journey. This was kind of just like, yeah, we gave her everyone's power. Like, okay, I don't know. I don't know how that works. Does that mean she also has everyone's weakness?
So what are your thoughts?
I'm yeah, I think I'm gonna align myself with Saber on this one. On the like she is the most powerful character right now, which I don't necessarily agree with. I kind of hope they do something later on where it's like a trade-off situation. Like the more of these powers that you use, the more like maybe it's like internal radiation or something that's like killing you. Because I think like there should be, because I mean, what's the point of the Avengers if you have all the Avengers in one? Really?
Yeah.
And but in a way, I am super excited to see what happens with Gaia moving forward. With her whole British Val version of recruitment and everything. So
I wish they did the Excalibur, like Britain Avengers and stuff.
yeah. It's going towards, and maybe even like they do Excalibur. That's perfect where she can meet Kit Harington's Black Knight and do a whole Game of Thrones reference.
You know?
That would be funny. I'm down for this.
She's just gonna be like, "Let's do this," and she's just being like, "You know nothing," and then that's it. Great.
Yeah, so that was one of my Easter eggs, right? So basically, what not Val, but Sonia does is she makes the MI13 group, which includes Dane Whitman and also Excalibur and there's a bunch of like other superheroes that are part of it. So it looks like they might be making that team, which would be really, really cool. But I did want to say something. The fact that like Saber mentioned, like it took Captain Marvel a whole movie to learn how to go, binary, whereas like Gaia did it in like 5 minutes. I feel like that's like a cheap thing that they do in a lot of movies. Like they did it in Superman, Man of Steel, because like Zod basically knew how to use all of Superman's powers within like 15 minutes, whereas Superman, it took him like a lifetime to get his X-ray vision and his laser vision and his strength and his flight, like learn how to use all his powers. It took him a long while, where Zod just knew how to use it right before the fight began. It's something I feel like they kind of do a lot, which I think it's like kind of cheap.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go to the comments real quick.
All right.
Yeah, so back to the fight. Yeah. Toby liked it. Toying, which was a bit longer, agreed. I mean, I think the fight was effective for how quick it was. It could be longer. Yes, absolutely.
You guys want Gravik to die? Like, general question for everyone.
I don't think I wanted him to die. I wanted to see more of him. I think he had a really good story arc. I feel like he had good motivation as a bad guy, and I would have liked to see more of him.
I think we can agree that. And there's a lot of room for like a prequel to this to see how Gravik got to where he wanted to be. I think that is an option to explore, if not like in a show or a movie, but like in a comic book or a light novel or something. I think that can definitely happen. Yeah. Gravik's last words were meh. Agreed. What are your thoughts on his last words?
I have no thoughts about his last words. If they were meh, they were meh.
Saber, what about you?
That's the show to me. Like, man.
He was giving a rating of the show. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brown Boy Wonder saying there should be at least 8 episodes. Hard agree. I am so tired of Disney and their 6-episode bullshit.
And Daredevil getting 15 episodes.
Here's the thing.
Crazy.
Here's my thing. So for people that don't know, in the comics, Secret Invasion is as big of a storyline as Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Civil War. It's a big story. It's huge. And the fact that they just made it a 6-episode small thing where like nothing really changed, other than the fact that we know who the Skrulls are now. Like it really doesn't do that story justice, in my opinion. Like if you watch, I think there is a cartoon on a certain channel which we can't promote because of the strike. By the way, shout out for the people who are striking right now. You can find a cartoon that does do the Skrull invasion and Secret Invasion storyline, and it's done really well. And this does not really get close to that. And the comics does such a better job too. So I highly recommend, reading the comics, I think you'll really enjoy the storyline. It is pretty good. This was a story where I thought a lot of stuff was going to happen. I thought it was going to be a grounded, gritty spy thriller, and it was going to keep us guessing and keep us on the edge of our seats. And it was just a bunch of cheap deaths at the end of every episode, and I didn't really buy it. It didn't really hit home for me.
Bravo, what is it? All the money went to Nick Fury costume changes.
Honestly, Neebs, I agree, and I think this is more to the reason why Phase 4 hasn't been the most successful phase yet, because there were no Avenger movies, and I feel like Secret Invasion would have been the best way to do Avengers.
Yes, that could have been like the Avenger movie. Like, totally agree with you. What you're saying right now, like everything could have led to Secret Invasion, and we could have had Miss Marvel, we could have had Shang-Chi, we could have everybody, we could have all these people, and everybody could have been a Skrull or not a Skrull, and it could have been an amazing like an Avenger movie, right? But it wasn't. It was a Nick Fury movie where Nick Fury isn't even the most badass person in his own show.
Nick Fury is like the Batman. Like that's how I look at Nick Fury. He's just a man. He's just a human, and he has all of these backups. He has all these secrets and stuff. But then in this show, I feel like they didn't do justice to Nick Fury.
Yeah,
it's really just a manager for people. Really, just that's kind of all he is.
Yeah.
There's so much potential, and it was absolutely wasted. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And we got Emma in the comments, and Michael Taylor Ford. He was actually on their Twitter chat, which is
no. Yeah, Michael, the chat is in YouTube. It's not on Twitter.
Yeah, we gotta fix that. I don't know why that doesn't show up here. Yeah.
Michael said the budget would have been pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty high. It would have been like a movie.
3 Barbies.
3 Barbies. Barbies and Oppenheimers. That's how we're counting shows. All right. Here's where the show kind of loses me. All right. So like the fight was fine. I liked it. It wasn't, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying it up to now. Then we got the Rhodes and the president. And the little standoff in the hospital where the president grabs the gun off the bodyguard and grabs it. Like, wouldn't the gun be more useful for the bodyguard to have it than the president? Like, what the hell was that? What are your thoughts about that, Saber?
Honestly, first of all, the hospital did not have any staff. Like there were no doctors or nurses or anybody. And the other part was when he took the gun, and I was like, "Wait, why are you doing that?" Like, if they would have done it in such a way where like Nick Fury immobilizes the guard and the gun goes into the president's hands, that would have made more sense. Not the president saying that, "Hey, give me the gun." If they were trying to make him look dumb, that kind of worked.
Yeah.
Unique in the comments makes a good point that the bodyguard's arm was broken and Fury did break it.
But the president was in a hospital bed.
Also true.
The president also had been shot.
and he isn't trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
President Ritson thought he was in one of those Olympus Has Fallen movies.
Channing Tatum and like what's the name? Who's the other guy? Russell. Was it Gerard Butler? That's right.
Butler, yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah. So Nick Fury is trying to reason with the president, even though like we thought he was gonna go face off with Gravik. He's actually just here trying to like talk to the president. Why didn't he just shoot the Skrull? Like, why was there so much explanation going on?
This is something Hamza and I were talking about right before we got on. Like, if you were to shoot Rhodey in the leg, you would see the green and the purple blood. Yeah. And it would have been an easy way to figure out that.
If you did that 2 episodes ago, you would have saved yourself so much trouble.
You know who did do that? Sonya, who knows what's up. She went up and shot her boss and was like, "Oh, look at that. He's bleeding purple." There's no HR issue to shooting your boss if he's a Skrull, right? Like that's badass. That is the badass Nick Fury that we should have had.
I will say that the whole scene with Sonya and Sonya like calling Rhodey saying like, "Hey, you got to get him out of there," and then Nick kind of like taking everybody out. Like that was kind of like I really enjoyed it a lot, actually. And you know, it was also because like I was expecting somebody who's not Nick Fury to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, I think those two scenes with Guy over on one end and Nick and Sonya on the other end, I really did enjoy it, and it gave me a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. No, that was really good. He got his Metal Gear Solid on, where he would just like, you know, sneaking around and beating up these guys. I did like that. So yeah, the scroll dies, and then, you know, Gaia goes down to the bunker and tries to save everybody, and then Ross is there, and he goes, instead of saying, "Where am I? What happened?" He looks over to Rose and goes, "How long you been here?" Like, what a strange question to ask. And I think they did it because the audience is supposed to be like, oh, how long has Rhodes been a scroll? What do you guys think? How long has Rhodey been a scroll?
Well, I think I can positively say he's been a scroll since Civil War, because he was wearing the same gown that, and I think it was fine for Ross to say that because Ross was also in Civil War, and when he you know, this whole after he got shot down and everything, and that's why like they're like, oh, I got you, because his legs don't work the same as everybody else's, you know. So he's been a scroll since Civil War, which I think it's going to play so big into Armored Wars with Scrody doing all these things with Stark Tech and all like weaponizing everything, and now real Rhodes is going to have to pay for those consequences.
All right.
Oh my God. It just occurred to me.
What?
When Tony Stark dies at the end of Endgame and Rhodes was there, that was Scrody.
So here's why I don't agree with that. Because in Endgame, we see Rhodes bleed and he bleeds red. So they would have to go back and retcon all of that and change the color of his blood in Infinity Wars and in Endgame.
So then if he was bleeding red at that point, then it had to have happened after the Battle for Earth.
Yeah, it has to happen after the Battle for Earth. Unless they're going to be like, that was spaghetti sauce. And he put it in he put it in his pockets. He put it in his pockets to get people not, I don't know, you know, who knows? They could retcon anything. But yeah, I do believe he did bleed, and it was red.
Okay, let's take a quick commercial break.
All right, commercial break.
Yep.
And we're back, guys. Welcome back. All right, so where we left off, we don't know how long Scrody has been a scroll, but there are some theories that because of the gown, he might have been a scroll since Civil War, which makes a lot of sense because we did see him in that exact same gown when he got an MRI done. The other thing is, it's been after Endgame because he did bleed in Endgame. So we'll have to see which one comes out to be true. But yes, let's see.
While Neve's thinking, let's go to the comments real quick.
Sure.
Like, hey, he was secretly hoping it was Maria Hill taking people out in the hospital. That would have been a cool thing.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, I'm with that. Our boy MF here is like they played fast and loose with the scroll detection techniques. Oh man. And if let's see what else. If Rhodes has been a scroll since Civil War, then he doesn't know Tony died. Yeah, exactly. That's gonna be gut wrenching for me if that ends up being the case, because like it just occurred to me and I'm like, I was a little sad there for a second. Like, oh my God. He doesn't know his best friend's dead. Like, oh man, yeah. And then Michael Ford, if Skrulls started replacing people in Civil War days, that means Skrulls broke bad a lot sooner. Yeah, and that would give a whole other meaning to Secret Invasion. So, but as he also says, maybe superficial wounds are different from severe ones in terms of keeping the human form. So maybe they might be bleeding just because it's like skin deep and not like
maybe
like piercing into muscles, killing them deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
And then war long ago, like 10 years ago. So yeah,
but Skrulls have been on Earth since '96.
Correct, if not earlier. So yeah.
Or 95, I'm sorry. Captain Marvel.
Yeah. When Blockbuster used to exist. That's how we know. All right. So this is the part that gets me, man. The present decides to do a telecom and video, and he goes after all the scrolls. Like, what the fuck, bro? And he does like this mass hysteria, which might not be different from real life. This might be the most realistic thing the show has ever done. The fact that you have immigrants and people from other countries, and you're spoking like fear into regular people about like these people, and they're going around like being vigilantes and shooting people that they believe are scrolls, and shooting people that they believe are scrolls that aren't scrolls, because they shot the UK prime minister who wasn't even a scroll. That shit went hard, man. That shit was crazy. What are your thoughts about that?
It's world changing. If the UK prime minister was shot today, right? Like it would be covered all over the news. Like everybody would be going crazy. And this is another thing. Like, I don't know if this is like the 6th episode thing or if there's bad writers. Like, that was such a profound moment that has huge implications for the world, and they just glossed over it.
That's the thing. Like, this should have been the show. This should have happened in like the first 2 episodes, and the rest of the Secret Invasion should have been them dealing with the fallout of this. That would have been the show. That could have been amazing.
There was so much potential. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I guess we'll see in Captain America: Brave New World.
You went full George Bush, Michael Ford in the comments.
That's true, or Trump.
But like,
he is the one-term president, after all.
Did they forget that there was a Skrull who saved the president's life, and that was on the news like 5 minutes ago?
Don't matter.
Did they just completely throw it out the window?
It does. Even in real life, it don't matter. If one good person did that and 20 good person did that, it doesn't matter. Because one bad person does it, and they're a person of color or they're a minority, they don't look like the normal people. Basically, they would not care. And speaking of not looking like us, is this whole declaration affecting New Asgard too? Does New Asgard have to leave? Because Valkyrie is an ambassador.
Yeah, I think. I think what they mentioned was though any aliens not born on Earth. So Valkyrie, which is gonna be crazy. Valkyrie just wakes up and everyone's trying to kill her, and she has no idea why as well.
I'm pretty sure Asgard has like amazing defenses compared to like the
right. Yeah, but it's
Asgardian is stronger than like a regular person.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I think this is where I'm kind of a little conflicted with. I understand the episodes were short and they could have done something more with the mayor being killed and or prime minister. I'm sorry, but I think this is what also kind of gives us something to look forward to in both Daredevil and Captain America and the Marvels. Also, is that this is kind of like their way of getting the ball rolling to bleed into the movies, because more people will see the movies than the TV shows. So it's kind of in a way more important for them to do it at that time and point. And I think it's also a great thing for them to bleed that into Daredevil, just because that's how Kingpin will probably become mayor of New York. He'll probably just like tell them, "I'll get all these bad vigilantes off the street or something."
Ooh. Well, speaking of that, we do know that in the Thunderbolts, Harrison Ford has been cast as the president, right? So him saying it's a one-term president was kind of a little bit of an Easter egg, saying, "Hey, they're going to get rid of him and put in, what's it called for the Thunderbolts,
someone much better."
Yeah, so that is one of the other things. Let's go into the comments and then we'll do some Easter eggs.
Yeah, so Brown Boy Wonders like Marvel's Purge. The world is crazy now. Toying was saying that, yeah. And Michael Ford was saying, this could be a miniseries on itself. I agree. I want to see a miniseries just like this. He also wanted to mention that New Asgard is in Norway, so it's Norwegian law. And the U.S. president doesn't have authority there.
Oh,
but New Asgard is tourist spot, so we'll see.
But they also killed the prime minister, and that's not U.S. So.
Yeah, but Baltimore's there, so
yeah.
All right, we're gonna go into commercials one last time, and then we will be back with some Easter eggs, and then we'll wrap up the episode. So we'll be back in 5, 4, 3, 2. And we're back, guys. All right. So let's get into some Easter eggs. A few of them we already kind of talked about a little bit, but the one-term president is a reference to the fact that they're going to have a new president with Harrison Ford. There were some really cool people that Gaia turned into. What Ghost when she phases through the car that's being thrown at her. Abomination. I didn't know Abomination was going to be there. So Abomination was not at the Battle of Earth, and neither was Ghost. But Ghost was a shield agent, so they would have her power because she was a shield agent, and Abomination they would have his power because Abomination was arrested in She-Hulk. So they showed us that a little bit. So what happened is you're probably wondering how come they don't have powers of Doctor Strange or powers of like some of these other people like Shang-Chi. They only have powers of people whose powers are integrated into their DNA. So where Doctor Strange, his is a learned art, the art of the mystics or whatever it is. So it's not in his DNA. So that's why they could only get powers from people whose DNA it involves. The other thing was, let's see, they did the Hulk kick, the kick that the Hulk does to whatchamacallit, Blonsky in the Incredible Hulk, where he goes through the tree. Gaia does that same exact kick where we got to see that. And as Saber mentioned, they go into binary mode. So that's another Easter egg that we got to see. Again, we mentioned this. Rhodey was wearing the gown and he can't walk. So this means that, it's hinted that it could have been from Civil War. But we don't know. And the other thing was Sonya is making the MI13, which includes old source of people. Captain Britain could be there, Excalibur, so many different people. And then at the very end, they talk about the Kree peace talk. And you remember the Kree were the people that were killing the Skrulls in the Captain Marvel movie. And now they want to do a peace talk, which will probably lead into the Marvels. So I think that's going to explain why Captain Marvel and Nick Fury and all of them are with the Krees in that movie. Maybe it's a peace talk, maybe it's a lie to get them there. So we'll have to see. But these are some of the Easter eggs that we got. If you guys seen some, feel free to share them. And now we'll go back into the comments and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I love what Michael Ford is saying here. Like, the least believable part of the episode was the idea that xenophobia would keep Ritson from being reelected. All facts. Unique's asking if they get the Black Panther powers, do they also get the illness?
Oh,
God damn, dude.
Damn. That's dark. The Black Panther's power comes from the fruit, so I don't think it was infused in the DNA. Yeah, heart-shaped herb. Yeah,
but it does give him like super strength though, in a way, and makes him faster. They just don't get everything else.
The heart-shaped herb is more mystical than just DNA being inside something. So,
yeah.
Wanda, that's a good question, actually.
So
I
Wanda,
yeah.
I think Wanda is a witch, and her powers come from like a mystical thing too. So I don't think magic and mystics is something that's part of the DNA. I think her DNA has something to do with it, but it's like a two-part equation, and the DNA alone would not do anything.
Yeah, Saber, what were you saying?
I was saying, I think the chaos magic basically, I think it was the Mind Stone that basically increased your power exponentially. I think that was where WandaVision, that we learned that in WandaVision, that Mind Stone kind of gave her power. So yeah, that would be interesting. Again, how are they going to connect this to mutants and stuff? Because I think they would want to keep Wanda as a mutant, right, going forward.
I would think so too.
I don't think we're going to figure it out until Deadpool. I think Deadpool is going to be the what's going to really let us know what's really going on with the mutants, because no one can be recast as a mutant until 2025 according to the contracts.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why we've seen people use Patrick Stewart, Ian McClellan, Hugh Jackman. They can have mutants, but they just can't recast any mutants until 2025.
Gotcha.
Did they not?
What about Miss Marvel?
Mutant though?
What?
Because did they not call Kamala Khan a mutant though?
But she hasn't been recast. Like what I'm saying is, if there was a mutant in Fox, you can't recast them in the MCU as a new actor.
Okay. Because she was
okay.
original. She wasn't
Yeah.
recast. Therefore,
Gotcha.
it's fine.
Gotcha.
Right?
Even
Yeah. So
WandaVision,
like,
right?
so like, if you have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, they cannot recast and get another actor to be Wolverine until 2025.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, another question that's from our audience. I wonder if the Kree peace talks will lead to the introduction of Hulkling. He did
Ooh.
correct spelling, but yeah, that's another thing we're looking into. Deadpool's going to do a lot. Yup.
Yep.
Dr. Varro was studying genetics, so she will create mutants. That's cool to think
That's
about.
a good theory. That's a pretty cool theory.
Yeah, and Michael's saying again, Hulkling is half Kree, half Skrull, so we have a lot of things coming in, and Hugh
Well,
Jackman's
that's in
yellow.
the comics. That's in the comics. In here, he's half Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
lots of stuff going on. In the yellow
Oh,
suit,
no.
yes, beauty.
Yes, that's
Agreed.
gonna be really cool.
Yeah, and then we have people saying, I really hope mutants won't be a man-made thing.
I don't think so, because Kamala Khan already is a mutant, and she hasn't been experimented on.
Yeah, and I think they're kind of were tiptoeing around that with Wanda also saying that like she was already born like this, and the
Yeah.
Mind Stone kind of helped enhance it. So
Mm.
I think that kind of helps their case in that.
Yeah. I think so. So we'll see. This seems, I'm really excited to see what happens in the Marvels. I like the fact that this kind of leads into that. Marvels is going to be a fun show. It's not going to be like super serious and gritty like this and grounded, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. What else is next? Is Loki coming out next? Is Echo coming out? Like, I don't know what the schedule is now because of the strike and everything. I don't know where everything is going.
I think for certain everything's going to be pushed. But coming back to Secret Invasion, there's one thing that I was kind of banking on before, before I started watching it. I kind of wanted Agents of Shield to come back. I
Yes.
was really hoping Quake came back, and that
A
was like
lot
I'm
of
an Agents of Shield
people, a
fan.
lot of people thought Quake was. I don't know where this rumor of Quake came, but everyone believed it. Everyone wanted to see Quake, and I heard it so often that I was convinced that we were going to see Quake, and there was no Quake.
Yeah. So yep, I watched that show after I think this was pre-Civil War and how
Yeah.
they integrated into Civil War, and again, Hydra as well. There's so many inconsistencies that I wanted to be answered in this particular show, but I could not. So I think that is another critique of the show where I would say that I would want all of these things to make sense, but
Yeah, you're right. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Loki's in September or October. We'll get that confirmed. Thunderbolt and Cap are next for movies, and then Echo in late November.
And then I think, I think around the time the Marvels is also in November.
Let's start a rumor, like Unique said. Let's start a rumor that Quake will show up in the Marvels.
You know how many people would go and watch the Marvels? People love Quake, man.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, that's exciting. I don't know, but listen, if you like a gritty, grounded kind of spy TV show, maybe once the strike is over, check out Agents of Shield. I don't know. Once the strike is over,
Seen it. I approve of it. So yeah, once the strike's over. Actually,
uh,
no, you can watch it now if you're a fan of it, or if you are interested in more Marvel content. You can watch it. The strike isn't telling us to boycott yet, so
that is true. They're not telling us to boycott yet.
right. We just can't promote any old works or new works, which I think I may be doing here. Kind of. I don't know. This is a weird line to follow. Do what you want to do.
Yeah, that's why I said after the strike. I'm like, well, let's just toe the line. Let's make sure we're not doing anything bad. But yes, that's all we have for this episode. Thank you everybody for joining us in the comments, man. It was a lot of fun having you guys here. It was a lot of fun chatting with you guys. Before we go, Saber, do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Oh, yeah, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is Sabir. I could should I put that in the comments or
If you want.
Like.
Guess.
All right. And Hamza, what about you? Where can people find you?
You can also find me on Instagram. I'll type it in the comments, but my handle is Hamza X Hassan, and that's Hamza with a U, not an A.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys. And thank you, everybody, for joining us in the comments. And we will be back next time there's a Marvel show, but I don't know. We'll have to see where the boycott goes. If we get different directions, we may have to not do any more shows. We know that reality TV show is still good to go. So, if you're a fan of The Bachelor and some of these other shows, we'll still be doing that. We will still be doing our Sunday episodes of Salaam Weekly, where we just recap all the news for the week. And then, if these shows come out and we're still allowed to kind of talk about them, we'll keep doing them. But that's all we got for this week. And until next time, guys, Salaam nerds.
Peace.